Welcome gamers! Today I'd like to share my thoughts on 5 amazing games that I believe everyone should play, and for those trophy hunters and achievement hunters out there, thoroughly recommend going for the Platinum Trophy or 100% Gamer Score on. Now let's get straight into it with my first recommendation. First up we have Death's Door. This isometric action-adventure game with role-playing, platforming and hack-and-slash elements to it was originally released for the Xbox in 2021 by indie developer Acid Nerve and later released on the Switch and PlayStation in 2023. The game's aesthetics give it a Souls-like feel, but with Zelda-like mechanics, and as you playing as a small crow who works as a reaper, collecting souls for the Reaping Commission headquarters in the afterlife that is run by the Lord of Doors. At the beginning of the game, you are given the task to go and reap the soul of a monster who does not want to give up their life willingly. After you defeat the monster, an old crow intervenes and steals the soul from you, and then informs you of a conspiracy regarding the disappearance of other crows and that he needs your help to uncover this conspiracy by exploring 3 dungeons to find, reap and collect 3 giant souls, which take on the role of bosses in the game, which will enable them to open Death's Door and thus discover the truth about what is located behind. In typical RPG fashion, as you progress through the game, you can find and level up a variety of different weapons, as well as learn different magic spells and pick up souls which can be used to improve on your different character stats. As you slowly traverse the different dungeons, you solve a variety of different puzzles and battle through different enemy types to be able to reach the boss you need to defeat and acquire its giant soul. The game is highly enjoyable, has a really pleasing art style and plays extremely well, providing a modest but not difficult challenge. Next up we have Jydge. This twin-stick shooter, played with a tilted top-down perspective, was released in 2017 by indie developer 10 Tons. The game is a prequel to a game called Neon Chrome and sees the player take on the role of a law enforcer whose job is to cleanse a dystopian cyberpunk city of its crime and crime lords. The game quite obviously draws very heavy inspiration from both the Judge Dredd and RoboCop franchises. Gameplay is set across 20 independent levels of increasing difficulty and complexity that sees you trying to eliminate specific targets or save hostages. As you progress through a level, you earn cash to spend on upgrades for your weapons and perks. Each level also has 4 different difficulty settings and all have set objectives to complete, with them becoming more challenging the higher the difficulty becomes. Completing the objectives will award medals that you use to unlock new weapons and abilities. To complete all the objectives, you will need to work out the best way to approach the mission and use specific loadouts depending on the mission's objectives, which on occasion can also require you to replay certain levels in different ways to be able to complete all the objectives, as some will require perhaps a very stealthy approach and others require a much quicker and direct approach. This adds a small element of puzzle solving as you retry missions to work out the best strategy to be able to complete every objective. An example would be a mission that has one objective to remain completely undetected, with another to complete it in a set time frame, needing for you to play through the mission twice, once with a camouflage type perk and silence weapon approach, with the other going loud with more powerful weapons and perks that enable you to move much faster and crash through walls. Overall, this makes for an extremely fun and intense time, given a huge amount of variety to the gameplay. In my opinion, the game is a real hidden gem on the PlayStation. PSN profiles shows a very low number of people owning the game on both PS4 and PS5, with an extremely low number of people that also have the Platinum, which in my opinion is a real shame for such a great game. My next pick is for Superliminal. This first-person puzzle game by indie developer Pillow Castle Games was first released on PC in 2019 and followed onto the PlayStation in 2020. The game has an extremely unique gameplay style where to progress you are forced to solve puzzles by solving optical illusions and manipulating various items in the environment by bending and forcing different perspectives. The protagonist is made aware at the start of the game that they are taking part in a dream therapy program. After going through a few basic tutorial type rooms that teach you the gameplay mechanics, you become trapped in a reoccurring dream cycle whereby your only means of escape is by forcing yourself to see everything around you from varying different perspectives in order to be able to solve the variety of puzzles that block your progress to the next area. As you do progress, the rooms and dream world that you navigate through gets increasingly more surreal, which makes for a very engaging gameplay loop and a real sense of satisfaction when you manage to solve the puzzles. Once you have completed the game, you can use chapter select to easily grab any trophies or achievements that you may have missed along the way. By the time you have cleaned all this up, your final one is most likely going to be speedrunning the entire game in under 35 minutes. While initially, when playing through the game for the first time, this may feel like it's going to be impossible, it's actually not too difficult, and there is a decent amount of wiggle room so long as you keep moving forward. And by the time you take on the speedrun, you will already know exactly how to solve each of the puzzles and will not waste any time trying to work things out. Superliminal is yet another one of those games that offers a really rich and unique experience, which more than justifies its inclusion on my list. My fourth pick is going to be Trek to Yomi. This exquisitely looking hack and slash historical action drama by indie developer Leonard Menciari was released on PlayStation in 2022. The game's aesthetics are heavily influenced by classic samurai movies, with a specific inspiration taken from the legendary filmmaker Akira Kurosawa, who is probably most famous for his masterpiece Seven Samurai. The game is set in the Edo period of feudal Japan. You play as the protagonist Hiroki as he embarks on a quest of vengeance when his home village is ravaged and burned to the ground. This ends up leading him to enter Yomi, the Japanese underworld, where he needs to confront the evils of his past. The gameplay consists mainly of side-scrolling melee combat as you fight your way past hordes of bandits using your trusty katana, along with some ranged combat options from your bow and shurikens. Although combat always takes place from the side-scrolling perspective, you adopt a much more free-form mode of traversal when navigating around the environment, allowing you to walk towards the front and back of the screen as you transition to new areas. This offers some really nice diversity to how you get around. My final pick is What Remains of Edith, Finch. Probably the most well-known game on the list, I still think it's worth including just for the fact that if this video brings the game's attention to even one more person that has not really experienced it, then that alone justifies its inclusion. This first-person exploration, narrative-focused adventure game by indie developer Giant Sparrow was originally released on PS4 in 2017 with no Platinum Trophy. However, when the game was released on the PS5 in 2022, it finally got the Platinum Trophy it so rightly deserved. I don't want to go into too much detail and give anything away here, as in my opinion, everyone should ensure their first experience is a blind playthrough. Don't worry, there are no missable trophies thanks to being able to secure any missed ones very easily afterwards using chapter select, although it's unlikely that many would be missed anyway. So you do yourself a disservice by looking up anything about the game before you dive into the rich story that will unfold before you. The game will only take a couple of hours to complete even on a blind playthrough anyway. What I can say, however, is that the gameplay evolves around you visiting the Finch's rather eccentric family home that has laid empty and untouched for the last 7 years. The game is set in the gorgeous Pacific Northwest of the USA, in Washington State, around the Puget Sound area, just outside of Seattle, where you explore the unique-looking house and start to uncover various mysteries, secrets, and the fate of a multitude of Finch family members. The gameplay is fairly linear, however, each family member's story is told and played out in a variety of very unique mediums from multiple different perspectives, with the family tree of the options menu slowly being filled in with the conclusion of each story. If you are still not convinced to give the game a try, then I urge you to take a leap of faith, and I strongly believe you will be pleasantly surprised by the experience. The best way to describe the game overall is that What Remains of Edith Finch is a true example of a video game being a piece of art. So that's 5 games I think you should all play. I'd love to hear in the comments if I've inspired you to give them a go, or if you've already played the games before, please let me know what you think of them. A like and a subscribe is the best way to support the channel and help me grow, and I very much appreciate it. So until next time, take care and look after yourselves.